Welcome back to Block TV. This is Trader's Take. We are joined by our very own trading analyst. Some call him Joe, the fortune teller. I call him Joe, the fortune maker. Joe Saz, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for that funny intro.
No problem, my man. Well, tell us, man, what's going on with the crypto market? Let's start off with Bitcoin.
Yeah, all right. Well, actually, we had some action. I think this is, we had a nice little pump, and it was immediately rejected. And that's the thing. I was feeling like, my bullish area was going to be like 96 with a pump to 98 and possibly beyond that, right? And then that was modified over the past couple days, maybe 5 days or so, because again, the bulls just really haven't jumped on this opportunity to just smash the bears in the face. And this is kind of like the opportune psychological moment to really do that. Whether it be whales or whoever's contributing to that, obviously, if you're a bull, you want the price to go up, and there's no better time to strike than when the iron's hot, right? And right now it is. And so, our pump right here, this was pretty good. We shot up from a low of 93.14 to a high of 96 flat. And, I'm going to tell you something. I ended up shorting this at 95.40 because I told you that this is what it's been like for a little while. I still think the other day I was talking about how bears are still in control of the market, a lot of volume on the downside moves. And this is a very deceptive 15-minute candle. But anyways, I mean, this is if this is shakeouts and we're back to what was happening in the 10,300 to 100, 9,432 area, there was a few areas where bulls would come in and try to shake out some over leveraged shorts, and you see that there's like a pretty decent move right there. That's in that one candlestick alone, we're looking at somewhere around a 3% move, or 1.78 plus some wick space. So that probably puts us at around 2.25 or 2.5%. So from bottom to top, I mean, it's a pretty significant move. And this is the kind of stuff that I was seeing still when bears were in control of the market. So right now, nothing changes. We're either resuming normal operations if the bears are in control, and some whales, whether it be exchanges or whatever the speculation is, are going to continue to shake out, or they call it stop hunting, or short squeezing and stuff like that. Whatever narrative you want to use, either way, the pattern is the same. And this is what I'm seeing right now, that the pattern is the same as it was when the bears were in control weeks ago, and I'm now more inclined to think that the bears remain in control. They're just going to be giving the bulls some gleams of hope to FOMO in, and then cap them out and turn them into sellers. But yeah, so Bitcoin's looking good. Just a quick move to the daily. Obviously you can see bears were in control of this, man. They pulled it right back down. And well below where we started. So anyways, I think this is still very choppy trading space. Just be careful. We are channeling. So that is at least something that you can kind of rely on. We hit right on the top of this dotted line right here. You can see that we poked the top end of the channel. On the bottom end of the channel, we're using bodies of the candles. I'm not really using wicks, but I would not feel bad placing a trade below that if you were trying to go long. So I think, you can see we went from the bottom of the channel to the top of the channel. And we're just channeling right now. We're grinding closer and closer as the 200-day moving average continues this upward trajectory. At some point, around over here, if nothing really changes, we're at 9,300 right now. We were just at 91 days ago. So if we close another day or two, in 2 days or so at the 9150 territory, we're then underneath the 200-day moving average. So Bitcoin's starting to get into a little bit of a dangerous territory in my eyes. I don't want to see this grind underneath the 200-day moving average, because I think that will trigger fear, and that will trigger sells. So I think that'll mean that what I said earlier is basically resuming normal operations that we had going on down here and into this descending triangle breakdown. But yeah, there's Bitcoin in a nutshell. I understand you have some altcoins you might hate. Is there anything in particular you wanted me to start with?
Well, I mean, first off, let's hope that the Bitcoin traders, or the bulls at least, are able to grab the market back by the horns and take control. But yeah, let's talk Ethereum.
Oh, sure. Ethereum. All right. So haven't really heard anything on the street lately. Just kind of the normal chatter. Ethereum is I mean, I'm looking at how we're fighting this 50-day moving average right now, and just kind of using this past reference. We popped above it. We popped above it pretty hard over here. This, I think, was when everyone was trying to talk about alt season. Maybe actually not. It might have been September, because that doesn't feel right. Anyways, we popped up. We broke through the 50-day, 200-day. Didn't even make it close to the 128, or was at the 125. And then we broke down. So you can see that this pop had a lot more tenacity, right? Like a lot more like a, I don't know, panache or whatever you want to say. Anyways, we pop up this one with far less, and then now we're grinding alongside it. I mean, this is pretty bearish to me. This would be a pretty classic case of fanning out, where you can see that these trends, and these are sloppy, I'm just kind of drawing them for reference, but you can see that these trends are getting much, these trend lines are losing, they're losing speed, like they're decelerating in angle. So I could easily see us falling and getting back below the 50-day moving average, and getting into more bearish territory. Going back in Ethereum, let's just check the weekly real quick. Let me get rid of these lines, otherwise they'll just look like kind of ridiculous lines in the weekly. A quick look at the weekly here. We do seem to be forming a bottom. I mean, that's a pretty good looking bottomish, bottom for the 50 moving average to act as support. We don't have too much data here, unfortunately. For some reason, I guess this is where the 125 starts. 9 sell was very strong. 9 buy was a 1 to 4 candle pullback. We started going sideways and grinding along the 50. And this is, I just kind of keep my moving averages constant. I know a lot of other people might switch it to, like a, lower, very much smaller moving averages for a weekly scale. But leaving this up, it just makes me look like this is starting to form, or starting to find its bottom target, bottom area, before potentially going up. But that's on the weekly. The daily still looks a little sketchy to me. I don't like the fact that we're grinding against the 50 MA. So Ethereum's looking, I would say, maybe neutral with a dash of bullish to me. Yeah, so Ethereum's looking a little. I'm wouldn't hate if a trader came up to me and said that they were checking out at least a short-term long position, because I can definitely see the room for that there.
Mm-hmm. With Ethereum grinding right now, could you switch gears a little bit? Let's check out Litecoin.
Cool. Litecoin USD. Yeah, let's see here. Litecoin is, I think, I don't know if I told you, but I know that they're down in hash. And one of the people at the Litecoin Foundation just quit his job. I think I've argued with him quite a few times. So it was kind of, interesting to see that. Let's see here. So 2% move on top of a 5% move. I mean, I can't really say that that's a pump, 14% move over here most certainly is. And this candle with this wick space is probably about the same size as this candle. So you can see that it looks like we've lost quite a bit of steam. Is Litecoin leading the market right now? This is a really good question. I mean, let's just take a quick look back at the Bitcoin chart. Let's see. I know we're kind of forming a descending triangle. And Litecoin was kind of just popped out of it already. So this I would say we need about 3 days for more data to see if this thing creates, starts rounding off and creating a top. But I can't assume that this has too much more steam left in it. I mean, half of the value of this candle is already pumped into this this green 3 right here. I don't really see us moving all the way up into a 9 count just yet. I just, it just looks like a small pump. It's really weak. 5% is super weak. So I'm not too bullish. I think that what I'm most curious to see is, do we create a local top here? It's going to be higher than these wick spaces, and that might be interpreted as bullish, but I would still think the narrative behind Litecoin is potential further downside action, especially considering miners are losing interest. Anyone left mining is still selling, their LTC. I mean, I just can't really see too many Litecoin bulls jumping out of the woodworks here to really stimulate the price of this asset and save it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, especially the market, or you could tell us if the market has responded at all to the big news that the Stellar Foundation burned half of all lumens. And I want to first see the market's reaction, and then I want to hear your personal reaction to the news. And has there been any movement for XLM?
Oh man, I can't wait to give my personal. All right, so XLM. Let's see here. Let's do it US dollar. I'm sure we can. Oh, they have it on Coinbase. I think Bitfinex. Let's try Kraken. Let's see that they probably have a lot of history. Yeah, we got a 200-day moving average here. All right, so I mean, we definitely had a pump. Let's see, 15%. We also had a 31% pump, 18th of September. So I wonder what would be going out. Wow, this really does. If you're looking for looking for a bottom, a nice bottom. I mean, it doesn't really get much cleaner than this. I mean, this thing's really rounding out and starting to make some bullish moves. We've now broken above the 50-day move. This is my first time really looking at this asset, so that's why I wanted to really zoom out here. Really interesting move here. There's a humongous gap. Humongous gap. This is interesting. All right, but if we use this, if we exclude this data for now, because I don't know what the heck this is about, we definitely start at some, the all-time high breakdown. We actually created a higher high before we, so the bull trap was quite dangerous here. Descending triangle breakdown violently. This was, let's see, November 2018. This is pretty much with the wider crypto space. November 14th, 2018 was when we broke through the descending triangle on Bitcoin. Moving into, a wild ride here, but this is really starting to look like it created a bottom. You can see it right here. We kind of did something similar. And so again, this is like how I feel about Ethereum is actually kind of how I feel about this. We might have a number of weeks of upside action. I'm not taking lower lows off the table, but right now, I mean, if you're looking for a good place to enter a trade, I mean, this really does seem like a bottom. So I would say the risk reward is quite low, but again, I don't really trade garbage. So that's, I'm not telling anyone to trade it, but I'm just saying, this does have a really bottomy feel, but we did have a 30% pump. Big pullback, broke above the 50-day moving average, snapped right back into it days later. So this is actually something that someone brought up to me, and I really like their way of phrasing it. It's the upside that tends to be much more irrational in crypto space than the downside. You can see the downside is very rational, very drawn out, very slow. But this upside, boom, it's a 31% move, plus maybe even another 15 to 20% in the wick space. Very irrational price swing. So we do have a couple wicks, and now we have a pump associated with that news. And now everyone's, like it looks like people aren't really falling for it anymore. We might reverse here. This is we're 12 hours away from the daily close. And if this candle holds, I mean, we have had a couple inverted hammers that didn't play out with humongous wicks. But I would say that I would expect a little pullback to retest something, a stronger support area. And I don't know why this is looking so weird. This should be curling up, but maybe it's this pullback that's really changed its mind. But this thing should be curling up, I think, at a bit more trajectory. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I would expect maybe a pullback to at least the 125, maybe even the 50, but the 50 looks like it's proven to be strong support for now. So yeah, here's a great play. XLM did a coin burn, traders jumped on it, and there's volume to. There actually really isn't that much volume to justify. Oh wait, right here, look at this, 15% move with absolutely no volume. If we do this for perspective, we had a 6% move with maybe triple the volume. So this is really interesting to me. This is actually very shady to me, I would say. This is very shady. What I'm thinking is, I mean, I hate to slap the red button here, but I'm just looking at that and I'm seeing market manipulation straight up. Sellers were like, there had to be like, in order for a price to move that high, you need no resistance with that little volume. You need people to be pulling liquidity from the sell side of the order book. And it's very possible that those sells were their own bags. So they pull these sells, let the price run up, and as you can see, the price got capped out violently, turned into an inverted hammer. That's basically the exact shit that I like to see that I expect to see in a manipulated market. Complete control over the asset gives you that kind of power. Mm-hmm. As far as my personal take on this, I think someone said it. I can't remember. I know someone said it. I can't remember who, but they put it best. They said, it was the narrator was coming from Ripple's, Ripple saying, you idiots, what are you doing burning these tokens when you can be selling them against your bag holders? So it was like kind of this funny play. Like Ripple's still gaining steam, and they're selling every month, into their bag holders, and they're still locking a ton of their escrow up, which just goes to show you that they are in complete control of the distribution of the asset. This escrow account is pretty much a fake, illusion of control that the community thinks they have by voting and putting some releasing a certain amount of escrow in time. But that was just the funniest observation to me. This is basically an XRP copy paste in many ways. And it was funny to me that, what the heck are they thinking? This is just a publicity stunt. They said that they didn't need the coins, but I would say that I agree with the people out there that are screaming, from Ripple's perspective, this is their, plan A, so it was kind of funny that they did this. It was just a publicity stunt to me,
well,
and I think this.
Yeah, speaking about XRP, let's take a jump into that chart. Let's see, you're saying that XLM, Lumens copycatting. Let's see how XRP is doing. If they're worth copycatting at all.
Well, we're just inching closer and closer to a really pivotal point here. To me, I'm looking at this as an ascending triangle, but keep in mind that we've pretty much gone a counter trend every time. So we have a descending triangle here that breaks out to the upside. We have an ascending triangle here that is, in all likelihood, going to break down. We have plenty of examples of XRP behaving this way. I mean, you kind of have something over here, break down actually before breaking out violently. I would need to really spend time in drawing this out, but I did notice a number of times where XRP was counter trending, and that's also something that I would like to expect in a manipulated asset is really messing with traders. But right now we're let's go technical, hardcore technical here. Based on what I see, let's see, the depth chart's looking pretty relaxed, neutral, I'd say. Nice spinning top leading into the apex of this triangle. It might even be worth, now that we have a little bit more data, there's still a few points of contact right here. So, from this point all the way down, I would say this is still a valid ascending triangle. Maybe this area is a little questionable, this bar. But I would say that we're nearing the apex of this triangle, and this is pretty much all I see is a triangle here. On top of it, we have pulled back into and have fought against the descending intermediate term moving average being the 125. We have broken, and again, we're not really doing too much with that. Like in this case, we broke out of it and then closed even, wicked out pretty high, and then came right back to it and are fighting it. So a lot of these coins are fighting these moving averages, and it's kind of making me nervous. This is a really difficult space to identify what's going to happen. I mean, with XRP, the only reason why I would say this ascending triangle doesn't make me bullish is because it has a tendency to counter trend. So I would just say, we're days away from what's likely to be a big move. And, just if you're trading these assets or any crypto asset, a lot of the times you got to keep your finger on the trigger and be ready not to pull or be ready to flip positions. So that's pretty much my warning to everyone. It's like right now, this kind of looks like a dangerous market space to get involved in. Scalp, do your thing, take small profit, be modest, and it's better to make modest profit than to lose big, and get tied to your convictions because you believe in your analysis or because you believe in your crypto or whatever it is. So this kind of seems like the market's in a very curious, pivotal moment, and I'm still waiting for clarity.
Well, Joe, the man who's always modest, the fortune teller, the fortune maker, our very own Joe Saz, bringing us the technical analysis straight from the crypto market. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. And for all of us viewers at BLOCKTV, if you want more analysis, more updates, and more commentary, make sure to check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.